When I was a couple weeks short of my 70th birthday, I started thinking about my mother's mother, who lived to be 100, and her mother, who lived to be 102, and my father, who lived to be 90. I began to think that maybe our generation could be the first to routinely live to be 100. When I talked about this at family dinner one night, my granddaughter, who was 5, said,
"What are you going to do for the next 30 years, Grandpa?"
Hello, I'm Dr. Janet Price.
And I'm Greg Kalust. And we are Oldish. And this is our podcast, Oldish.
If you're oldish or know someone who is, please join us every week for conversations amongst ourselves
And our special guests
about what it means to be oldish in the 21st century.
If you ever wonder whether you're getting old, you're oldish. What are you going to do for the next 30 minutes? Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm oldish.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm oldish. Welcome to this episode of our podcast, Oldish, Conversations on Aging in the 21st Century. We are so excited to have our good friend and colleague and published poet, Leslie Rostagnan, with us again as we look at the newest book in our book club. The title of this is The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly, Life Wisdom from Someone Who Will, quote unquote, probably die before you, written by Margareta Magnusson, the author of The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. So very internationally renowned author. So many gems in this book. Can't wait to discuss it. I'm going to hand it over to you, Leslie, so you can give us some background and what's going on with this.
Great. Thanks, Janet. Thanks for that introduction. Margareta Magnusson from Sweden. So, Janet, I'm going to rely on you to make sure that I get these Swedish words pronounced correctly.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. So let me just tell you a little bit about this interesting woman, Margareta Magnusson. So she was born in, I don't know, and also here's another pronunciation, Gothenburg, yes. Sweden, in 1934. Her mom was a nurse and her father was a gynecologist. So she grew up in a pretty upper middle class, probably Swedish family. She recently actually passed away in Gothenburg, Sweden, on March 12th, 2026. So just about 4 months ago, at the age of 91 years old. Yeah, it was very close.
What an amazing life.
She did have an amazing life. I mean, she was college educated in art, in the College of Design in Stockholm. And she had a career as a painter and a seascape artist. And she had a lot of very popular exhibitions in Stockholm and even in Singapore and Hong Kong, which was kind of interesting. When she married her husband, Lars, in 1957, his career took the family off to live in various places. And I just told you that she had exhibits in Singapore and Hong Kong, but those are some of the places that her husband took her. So I'm sure she continued her art after she was married and raising children. They even lived in the United States for a while in Annapolis, Maryland. But then eventually returned to Sweden, and they had 5 children. She had 7 grandchildren. We always like to hear about the grandchildren, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband lived until 2005. He died back in 2005. And her older daughter, Jane Magnusson, is a documentary filmmaker, and she directed a short film about her mother's life.
Oh.
I was looking for that, and I never found it, but I'm going to keep looking. Also, I don't know how much her daughter had to do with this, but there's a new television series on the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning. That was her first book, her most popular book. We're not discussing that book. It kind of fed into the second book that we will be discussing. And it's an unscripted reality series on Peacock. It was produced and it's narrated by Amy Poehler and inspired by Magnusson's best-selling book, obviously, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. And the show, the way they set it up sounded interesting. It follows 3 Swedish experts, an organizer, a designer, and a psychologist.
Wow.
And they help people declutter their homes. And not only declutter their homes, but do it in the process of confronting their own mortality, that they're going to pass away. They have some kind of a a disease or something, or they're old or whatever. So yeah, so death is imminent, and that's my impression that I get in this series. So she published The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning only in 2017. She was in her 80s, and it became an international bestseller, published in over 30 countries, and inspired this television series. And then the way she describes death cleaning it's sorting through and purging your belongings to clear out, and I'll quote this, the mountain of crap that you accumulate over a lifetime. Those are her words. It's and designed, obviously, to spare families the emotional burden of cleaning out your family's, lifelong belongings.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2022, she published her second book, the one that we're discussing today, The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly. And I think she's well suited to write this book because I saw a few videos of her, and she definitely seems to be a very exuberant elderly lady. She was like in her 90s. It was shortly before she died. And this book really focuses on accepting that death is a normal and inevitable part of life.
I felt like we should make a T-shirt for our Oldish podcast. I can't quite figure out how to get our name of the podcast into it, but something about the art of aging exuberantly.
Oh, yes, that would be a great...
Oldish, the art of aging exuberantly, something like that.
Yeah, or being oldish and exuberantly.
Yes.
Anyway, that sounds like a great idea, Janet. So, I think that these two books are pretty connected. I have them both, and they're both small books, and there is a lot of crossover between them. But the second book focuses a little bit on death cleaning, but not very much. Her main focus in this book, I think, is aging with dignity. And not just dignity, humor. I mean, she really has a sense of humor, this woman. And she's funny, and she's self-effacing, and she tells really funny stories about herself as a child, memories of raising her own children. The book's a little bit all over the place, but it's good in a way. It's sort of a real person's life, a real person's clutter, That's kind of the way I saw it. And it really matches the title of the book and who she is. And she's someone who embraces the realities of aging. And she uses humor to talk about the aches and the pains of forgetfulness and the loneliness and all the changes that we're going to go through. And I think it's so relevant not to lose your sense of humor as you age. It's just, there's no other way to do it, because it's something we all do. We're all going to do. Many of you listeners are in the process of doing it now. And I hope you agree with me that it's something that requires humor and finesse.
Yes. It makes me think of a quote in the book that was one of my favorites. It relates to that, where she wrote, "We have to try to find something other than the future to be happy about. And once you begin to look, you realize the things to look forward to are all around you."
It's really true in terms of that acceptance that, mortality, because we have no future, she says, which sounds awful, but it's just the truth. We have no future. So we just have now. And we need to find something else besides the future to be happy about.
And have humor about it.
Yeah. And she poses that question, what are you happy about? I thought, okay, I stopped. I thought about that for a while. And then I read on to the things that she said she was happy about, which is one of the first things was having a gin and tonic with her friends. Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't drink gin.
Yeah, I'd have a gin and tonic with her any day.
But I mean, she also says you have to make yourself laugh a lot, She said you want to have happy laugh lines when you die. So if you laugh a lot, your face is going to acquire happy laugh line.
Yes.
Yeah, stay away from the crow's feet of anxiety. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just so you know, so I don't have to wait until the end of all of this, because who knows when lightning is going to strike. But one of the things that makes me happiest is this, what we're doing here. And partially because we laugh a lot. We're just three old people sitting around giggling to each other and The nurses and whatnot are just outside the room saying, man, leave them be. They're not bothering us.
Oh, I know. And I have to agree with you, Greg. This gives me a lot of pleasure. And it's also very educational. It's helping me do what this book is telling me to do. It's helping me to like think about my own mortality and just face it in a way that's cheerful and not morbid. And, that like none of us are getting out of here alive. So we may as well enjoy the ride,
Yes.
the end of the ride.
Exactly. And that's such a key, the end of the ride. I think our society hasn't quite caught up to that or recognized that as a culture. One of the quotes I wrote down was, when you are over 80, it is easy to be angry. If you are over 80, there are two choices: be angry or go with the flow. And obviously it relates to not just being 80, it's being oldish.
Yeah.
I know. That's really true. What she really emphasizes too is how to take pleasure in the small things in life. And she talks about things like chocolate. She knows she's not supposed to eat it, but it gives her a lot of joy. So she eats it. Not all the time, but she eats it sometimes, and I think that's okay. I think you have to weigh those pros and cons. I mean, if it gives you joy, go for it, right?
I think it's such an interesting part of aging that we haven't talked about too much on this podcast yet, but where do you decide to veer off track of the planned pathway forward? We talked about it a little bit in the previous book about, I can't remember the name of it, but the man who was old and he was dying and his son took the dog away. And we talked about was that the best choice? Was that not a good choice? And what was his choice? And should he have a choice in that? And so that whole idea of Margareta eating chocolate. It's like, but she was 80 plus, however old she was. And she decided to eat a little chocolate.
With her gin and tonics.
With her gin and tonics. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I think that, there's a balance there.
Yeah.
That played out really clearly. And fairly soon, I'm hoping that I won't have to bring up what I'm doing these days in our podcast, but anybody who's been listening knows that what I've been doing these days is getting my family home ready to be somebody else's family home, because my parents have gone. My brother, who lived here to take care of them, is now gone. And the thing about the chocolate that has just come up is that my father, in his mid to late 80s, was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And his doctor was not a specialist. He wasn't a gerontologist. He was just a regular family doctor. And his training said, you have to do everything you can to keep the blood sugar down so that the person can have a nice long life. Well, my father it was too late for that. That nice long life ship was about to sail. And my father had a lifelong sweet tooth. But my brother and my father engaged for the last 3 or 4 years of my father's life. They engaged in a fierce battle because my brother did not want my father to have diabetes, and he wanted to follow what the doctor had said, especially since the doctor had said to my brother, if we can't control his blood sugar, you're going to have to give him injections. And my brother was like, oh, no, I'm not. So they had this battle over him. And my father loved his little snack cakes, Little Debbie's. He could have done commercials for Little Debbie's. And he could have also done commercials for don't let anybody eat Little Debbie's, because he was a mess. But my brother would be furious with him. And my father went to the senior center around the corner for lunch every day, and he would convince the people at the senior center to give him cookies. And so he would come home with cookies in his pocket. So my brother, it was like total role reversal from childhood. My brother would insist on searching my father's coat when he came home. My father eventually died of a heart attack. And my brother was devastated. He said, if I'd known he was going to die of a heart attack, I would have given him a cake. So the moral of that story is you're in your 80s. Go ahead. The dying young ship has sailed. The dying old or any minute now ship is approaching the harbor. Have some fun. Wash down the chocolate with your gin and tonic.
I know. She says delight doesn't disappear with age, which I think is really so true, that it just changes and sometimes it just becomes smaller. And it's these small things like cookies and chocolate and gin and tonics, or, those little things that it's usually the forbidden fruit things that you want, right? And why not? And then she poses an important question too around that issue. And that is it better to die quickly or live through the pain of recovery? So do you enjoy yourself and eat chocolate and die sooner? Or do you just make yourself miserable trying to live a couple years longer?
What do you think? I mean, that's such an interesting question. And I feel like as we get older, like you were saying, Greg, that power starts to slip away from us and our own decisions about the answer to that question. And sometimes it's taken over by our children and relatives. And so, what is the answer? Is there a right answer? What are your thoughts, both of you?
Well, I think that all the predictions about this bad thing is going to happen, that bad thing is going to happen, health-wise and diet-wise and all that stuff, that's all based on statistics. And it's not based on individual people. So I don't know when I'm going to die. I've known people that live to be 100 plus, and they'd say, what's the secret to your living to a ripe old age? And I saw one guy say, smoke cigarettes and drink a lot. He said, that's what I did.
Yeah, I know. Simple pleasures, right?
That's right. So, live your life. I think the message, and it's in this book, and it's in lots of other of the books that we've been talking about. The thing is, live your life. Go ahead and live it. Don't be afraid of your life. Go ahead and live it, because you don't know what's going to happen. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. Plus, I'm pretty sure that whatever I say is that, I wonder about this with cancer treatments. My sister and her husband died of cancer, and there were a lot of questions about how hard should we work to keep you alive, especially since in their late stages of cancer, the doctor said to them, we can keep you alive 6 more months, but it's really going to suck. So my sister made a choice. She said, nope, I'm just going to slide out of here. My brother-in-law made a different choice. He said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay alive so I can take care of her, which is a different choice. And his last year, I went and stayed with them for the last couple of months of their lives. And his last couple of months were miserable. He was in constant pain, but when she called his name, he was there. And that to him was worth all the crap that he had to go through. And he died about 2 or 3 weeks after she did. So he waited her out. So, that's a really stark look at that particular question. But one thing I know is I'm not making any predictions on that, because I don't know when the push comes to shove and it's real. I don't know what I'm going to choose. I say right now, it's like, oh no, I'm not doing anything extraordinary to stay alive. Live my life while I'm having it and then see ya. But I don't actually know.
Yeah, I think it's situational. And it's great that if you know ahead of time, if you have something like cancer and your doctor can say, well, if you want to live longer, here's what your life is going to be like. Then it makes it easier to choose. But you never know, what is that choice that each person is going to have. Like my father, he was 99 when he died. But he said to us, hey, you girls, my sister and I, would you guys like me to live to be 100? And we just sort of chuckled. We said, well, I don't think it's up to us, Dad. And he was sort of surprised by that answer. And he realized it really wasn't up to him either. I mean, it's kind of up to fate, or if you believe in God, maybe it's up to God, but it's up to your situation, what kind of disease you have, what kind of doctor you have, I think it's so random and situational that it's an impossible question to answer, because you don't, for yourself personally, because you don't know, like you said, Greg, what your situation is going to be like, and also what you're living for. If you have children that are relying on you or a partner that's relying on you, and you really have a reason for wanting to stay alive for a long time. Sometimes seems like that can work. Other times, you're going to go when you're going to go. It's preordained, and this is your date. So it's a big question mark, right?
I was just reading an article, and I was trying to remember where it was. I think it was the New York Times, but it was written by a physician who does a lot of work with people in hospice and people that are dying. He wrote and said he's worked with so many people as they've died. And he said that he felt like first of all, we're so protected in this society from the reality that we're going to die. And so we have an attitude of, well, let's just do whatever I can to live as long as I can. And that's not bad either. It's kind of complex. But he said that if he had a wish for people, it would be that as we age and we get closer to death, that we do have the attitude of, at some point, it's time to say enough. At some point, It's time to say, oh, if you say I have 4 months to live, I guess I have 4 months to live. And if there's this experimental surgery that might keep me alive for 6 months longer, is it worth it? And so it's kind of an interesting time, I think, in our society of, are we going to live exuberantly, age exuberantly, knowing that we're heading towards death?
I know Americans like to kind of deny that. And I love the way the Swedes just put it right out there. It's like, we're all dying, so enjoy your life, enjoy the little things around life. And I love their philosophy. And I think it's the right way to go about it. Americans often don't even want to talk about it. We say things like, oh, he passed away or he's gone. We don't just say they died. Everybody dies. We all die. It's just kind of interesting. It's a cultural thing, the way it happens in some regards. But then, she talks about this like as if we have a choice, right? And it makes people think about it. So the book was good in that regard, that it makes you think about, what are your thoughts about this? What do you want for yourself? And then she makes a complete turnaround, and she encourages older adults to stay curious and keep the company of younger generations. That's a good way to keep yourself alive. Spend time with young people, learn something new. Don't withdraw from life. Don't just sit in your house and watch TV. Help other people, because helping somebody else is helping you. Even if it's just somebody that's as old as you or even older than you, or, take care of something else is another thing. She says, have a pet or plants. What she's saying is, don't give up on the purpose of your life. And if your whole life was your job, well, find another purpose. Look for other purposes. Don't just sit there and let life go by. And for me, that was one of the best messages of the book, because too many times old people just disengage, and we kind of expect them to, in a way. Well, we're all in our 70s, but we don't reach out to those people in their 80s and say, come join me. We're like, oh, they're in their 80s. They can't do this or they can't do that. We start to make these assumptions, and it's just not true. And it's different for everybody. And so I love that she emphasizes that, stay engaged and open to change. And then she goes through this thing, I love change, I hate change, I love change. Hate change? I feel like you really relate to that.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm excited about what this moment is for me. And I'm not excited, and I don't want to know anymore, but I really want to know. Or it is an interesting hodgepodge of feelings and fears and excitements.
But I think it's important to remind ourselves what she says, and that is to see aging as we're continuing to grow and change rather than decline. That it's not like we talk about going over the hill. So you get to the top of the hill at what? In your 50s or 50, unless you're going to be 100. And then it's all downhill from there. And it's like, no, that's a terrible image.
Yes.
Throw that out of your mind, It's continued growth, not decline. It's your choice how much you want to be in the mainstream of life. I'm not saying go to a disco or anything like that and pretend that you're 20 again.
Yeah, don't do that.
I mean, discos don't even exist, so I'm already dating myself, right?
Yeah.
But there you go. Step out.
There you go.
So
made me think about aging communities that are springing up all over and are growing, and it feels to me like there's some positives about it, that you can move into a community that maybe has a step program. So you start out, maybe you're healthy in your aging and oldishness, but there's places within that community, if you start to feel sick or less able, all the way up to memory care units. So I was thinking about what it would be like in a community like that to have a book club one of their books was this book, The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly, and what would it look like there? One of the things they'd have to work out is that there might not be many younger people around. And so, whatever that means, however they would include that in their life.
Right. It's going to look different for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and so what are you guys doing then for yourself to keep yourselves active and engaged and open to change? Because I think it's a good conversation to have.
It's a very good conversation to have. And I was thinking as you were talking about that, I have told a few people that I was reading this book, or that this was the book we were going to talk about. Or even I moved out of my home of 8 years recently, and was consciously thinking about the Swedish art of death cleaning as I went through memorabilia and pictures from my children's childhood and my past, and thinking through. So I've saved these years. Is this something that my kids are going to want to look at? Are they going to care, that this was my boyfriend, 20 years ago, or girlfriend or whatever, and other things. And so it was a very interesting process of not only going through stuff. And Leslie, I know you had a firsthand experience in helping me with that. But I remember telling a few people that I was doing that as I was getting ready to move, I was thinking about the Swedish art of death cleaning, and people would respond with almost shock. And I don't know whether it was this influx in this moment of, yes, we are all going to die, and we can think about it now and be planful about it, or we can die and then have our children and relatives have to go through everything.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job, Janet, of disconnecting, detaching, because you had piles. I think I'm going to keep this stuff pile.
Yes.
And then you had, I'm definitely going to throw this stuff away pile,
Yes.
I thought that was a really interesting way to do it. And the only thing I did was help you haul things out of there with my van, the things you're not going to keep. And I took some of the stuff out.
Yes.
You said, I don't want any of this stuff. And there was like a plate. And I thought, that's a nice plate. I'm going to keep this. So when you come to my house, you're going to see some of that stuff you wanted to get rid of. But if you want it back, you're welcome.
Thank you, Leslie.
But no, you're right. It was really such a good exercise. And I was tuned into that too. I was like, oh, this must be hard.
It was thoughtful, planful, kind of, I don't know, knowing I'm walking towards the end, and whether that's right around the corner, whether it's in 10 years, I don't know. As far as what do I do to be happy, I think doing this podcast, is a very meaningful part of my life right now, and moments of laughter and seriousness and thinking and wondering and pondering. And I know that, for my part, I wanted to start this podcast because I felt like, what does this look like? What do I want this to look like? And can it be different from how my parents didn't model it because they died young, but the society, my birth mother, who's elderly, is just a very unhappy person. And I look at her and think, it's like that quote about when you're over 80, it's easy to be angry, but you can be angry or go with the flow. So, I meditate. I enjoy the work that I do have. I've shrunk it a lot, but I enjoy my work, enjoy my friends, try to enjoy hearing birds when I wake up in the morning and seeing that it's a sunny day or it's a rainy day, or just being in the moment and being thankful. I find that I'm going through a time of just being so thankful. And I look at my past and things that I was angry about for years and years, as far as feeling like my parents didn't quite understand me well enough, or different things like that. And suddenly realizing, wow, they did so many things for me in their own way. And so I'm really thankful for that. And I'm also, I mean, that's the happy part. I'm also scared and don't know what's coming, which is, I think we spend a lot of our lives wanting to know what's coming. You know, when are we going to have our next baby? Where are we going to live? Is this house big enough? Would we want to move? What is my job? Is this a good job? Do I want to move to a different job where I'm in charge? You know, I'm going to figure this out. And now it's like, I can't in some ways.
Yeah, she says we had to find other ways to be thankful aside from thinking about the future, and that was pretty powerful statements. Yeah, because our future's shrinking, so we really have to live more in the present. And it's almost like you get to the point where you don't have a choice about that anymore. This is all you have is right now, because you don't know how many years you have ahead of you. You just know there could be a lot, there could be a few. It was interesting to read this book because I feel like I work at some of these things, some of the advice that she gives, like being part of a caring group at my church to help people when they come home from the hospital, or make food or things like that, or looking for those things that give me joy. Like I'm in a ukulele group and we just sing and play. None of us are fabulous musicians, but we're good enough to play music and just sing, and just the joyfulness of that, trying to do things like that, and being outdoors and doing what you need to do to stay active. I mean, I never used to have to do anything to stay active. I just was active. But now I have had terrible allergies and haven't been doing very much. And I feel like I'm just starting to get back to going out and birding and doing all those things I love. But I feel like I have to get back in shape to do it. Feeling well. That's a shock. That's like a new thing that hasn't happened to me before.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, all of those things, traveling in a different way, traveling becomes a little less rough than it used to be. I'm not going out and pitching a tent in the woods anymore. We have a little camper, and that's, it's very little, but those kinds of things that you want to keep doing what you love to do, but you just have to find ways to do it that are doable or more comfortable, Yeah.
What about you, Greg?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking that one of the things that makes me happiest is that I'm not in a ukulele group.
I'm going to make you come to one of my ukulele groups.
I was going to say, maybe we're all happy you're not in a ukulele group.
You are, believe me, everyone who is in a ukulele group is glad that I'm not in it.
Well, that's different than what you said, but
well, I'm definitely glad I'm not in it. But
you can come and enjoy it. There's always parts that each of us can play. So some of us are making the music, like Leslie and her group. They need and want people to come and hear what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the part I don't want.
Greg?
No, that's definitely the part I don't want.
But you know what? None of us care, because most of us are, in our 70s, 60s, 70s. There's a few 50-ish people, but most of us are, I guess you'd say, oldish.
Yeah.
So we don't have to care.
Yeah. So other than that, I'm really, these days, I'm really happy to be alive and to be watching life unfold, and without having any plan. The everything, almost everything that ever happened in my life that went awry was a plan. And so at this point, I don't have to plan. I don't have to, I don't even have to get up if I don't want to. Wake up in the morning. I don't have to get up if I don't want to. I usually do, but I don't have any desires to build an empire, which I did when I was younger. So, I'll be a successful businessman, or I'll be a famous writer or something, where you have to build a body of work. I don't have to do that anymore. And so I'm very happy that I'm not disappointing anybody, and life is good. You know, you look around, I'm looking out a window, and I'm seeing the sunshine on some leaves. And who needs more than that?
So there's one comment she made that I wondered what you both think of it. She said, the moment you start thinking it is too late, then you begin to die.
Yeah, I'd buy that one.
Too late for what? Just too late.
That's
Well,
all
I
she
can't
said.
do that. It's too late.
Yeah.
I don't know. The moment you start,
I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I kind of agree with it because when you say it's too late, you're giving up. And I think the message is not to give up, to be persistent.
I got stuck on it a little bit because I thought there are some things that it is too late. I always use an example for some strange reason of that if you had in your bucket list that someday you would ride a motorcycle across the country, and all of a sudden I'm almost 73, if that were on my bucket list and I hadn't really looked at it, and I suddenly thought, okay, well, that is not going to happen. It is too late for that. You know, but
Maybe
does that
not.
mean No?
Well, maybe if you're going all the way across country, but it's not too late to get on the back of a motorcycle and take a nice ride.
Okay.
I mean, I think you just have to tweak it. Just
Yes.
tweak it.
Or get on the front of a motorcycle. Just do what you can do. And, you know, that may be the biggest lesson of aging exuberantly that I took away from this book is do what you can. And what you can might be different from what you thought it was before. But we've been doing this book club for a long time. And there was a 65-year-old woman who was culturally relatively and medically relatively older than we are. And she got on her horse and rode to California from Maine. So if she
That
could do
was amazing.
you can ride a motorcycle down the road.
Well, I've always wanted to get a Vespa. Yeah, I need a Vespa.
Okay.
Or at least ride one. Those little scooters, they're
Yes.
awesome.
Are those the ones that you stand up and there's a
Yeah,
motor?
they're scooters, yeah. Because you put your feet down,
Yes.
you know, on them, and the handlebars kind of make it go.
See, this is showing something about me that I'm starting to recognize. Is like, I look at those kids riding that and I think, oh, I wish they had that around when I was younger, because now I don't have very good balance. And every time I see someone zip by on their Vespa, I think to myself, could I do it? But it's such a risk. You know, if I go on that, there's no seat belts or safety belts, or there's no safety net. If I go on that and I fall over and break my hip, that's not good.
No, that's not good. But that's been planned for, Janet. If you get out on the highway, there's a very good chance that at some point on the highway, in your car, all surrounded with steel and seat belts and airbags and whatever, I would be willing to bet $100 that some old guy or old couple is going to go past you on a 3-wheeled motorcycle.
Well, 3-wheeled motorcycle is different. That's an interesting addition to the idea.
Yeah,
For the
but
picture.
it's a motorcycle. You're out there with
That's true.
the wind blowing through your helmet.
That's true.
Well, you know, this just feeds right into Magnuson's whole theory that she argues for persistence, as we talked about earlier, that she pushes against the stereotypes that old people get rigid and irrelevant. Their life is joyless. I think it's a choice. You could choose that and not do the things you want to do, or you could just say, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it not the way I would if I were 20. I'm going to do it, you know, as a 70-something and still enjoy it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I know I think we have to stay curious, continue to challenge ourselves and have new experiences, and to the very end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good place to just move towards our own ending of this episode. I'm thinking, okay, next time we meet, we're each going to have a vodka,
A gin and tonic.
gin and tonic, and we're going to have a cigarette. And
Not for me.
Will a joint count?
Oh, no, I'm not inhaling any.
Greg.
I'm on lung.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Well, we'll give you a gummy.
Okay, I'll take me.
To hold and
I'm open to
chew on
gummies.
a
Chew
little
on the
bit,
gummy.
take little bites off.
Some gummy.
Yes.
No, I think that's really, I think that is a good place to end, Janet, because it's not over till it's over, or not over till the fat lady sings, as they say at the ball game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so you don't have to kind of just keep on keeping on.
Exactly.
Keep on trucking.
With some special guidance from Margaret Magnuson. So we got it. We're all set.
Yeah, we're all
and we
set.
got each other.
So, and for those of you who are listening, we also, Jen and I just had a conversation more in depth about the Swedish art of death cleaning, which if you don't know what it means, and I didn't at first, I said, what, death cleaning? You're talking about cleaning up after the bodies? That would be an interesting career to take up in your 70s, is to be the person who goes in after the police go in and handle the horror scene, and you go in there and clean it up. That's what I thought it meant. But it doesn't mean that. It means you're going to die. Don't leave all of the stuff you're buried in behind for somebody else to dig through. Clean it up. Leave them gems. Leave your family gems, not piles of dirt to sort through. And so Jen and I had a long conversation about that, and so tune in for that one too. And I'm definitely voting, because I'm hearing why didn't anybody do any death cleaning land? And there are gems. I will have to say that I have found some gems that nobody, other than leaving everything, nobody planned for. Oh, I'm going to put this halfway down in a box in the attic of the garage so that Greg can find it when he cleans up after I die. That I don't believe happened. But nonetheless, there are those gems there. I don't think they were put there on purpose for me to find after the death. But I'd have been way happier if I could sit here with my parents and my brother and my sister now, not surrounded by mounds of stuff and surrounded by mounds of love and tolerance for each other. That would be, I'd do that one.
Yep. More important than the stuff that you can't take with you. That stuff you can take with you.
Yes.
The love, the abundance, and the kindness. You can take that with you.
But you can't take the gold and you can't take the crap. So lighten up.
On that note, I love you, Leslie. And I love you, Greg.
No, I love you both. Yes, this is fun.
No, for me.
Yeah. Well, come on, Leslie. You can go ahead and say it. So my father would never say.
Say what?
My father would never say, I love you. So I would, in his old age, I would call him on the phone every week, and I would say, at the end of it, I'd say, I love you, Pop. And he would say, yep.
Yeah. No, I do love you guys. I was just thinking of the economy of time.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, there's always enough time
We're
to
all
say I
thinking
love
of that.
you. There's always, that's my book that I'm going to write. There's always enough time to say I love you.
I love you, Greg.
Bye, everybody. Till next time, everyone.
Goodbye. And don't forget to love everybody.
You. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. We had a fine time reading and discussing the book, The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly, and hope you did too. This is a small book with a big message. Well worth a read. You can find a copy in our store at bookshop.org/shop/oldish. Your purchase there supports a local independent bookstore of your choice, and a small amount goes to support our podcast. Thanks. And don't forget to love everybody. You can leave comments or requests for topics or guests on this or other episodes at www.oldish.me. There's a link there, too, if you've wondered how you can help support our podcast. If you like what you heard today, please tell a friend and rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.